we're tracking on Mirror at 1. In fact, a horrific incident occurred in Bengaluru last year in December. An 11-year-old was electrocuted, and the result was that the child lost his hand and feet. Now, the loose hanging wires that caused this accident has still not been attended to by BESCOM officials, despite the fact that it's been over 1 month since the original incident. Now, the family of the child is demanding justice. They want compensation, and they want the government to ensure that the loose wires are fixed so that this doesn't happen to anyone else. And an incident like this is unfortunately not unheard of in the IT hub of the country. Now remember, last year in November, a 23-year-old woman and her 9-month-old baby girl were electrocuted to death on the pavement near Hope Farm in Bengaluru. The woman had stepped on a live electric wire. In that case, a case of negligence had been filed against BESCOM. My colleague Imran joins me live on the broadcast. Imran, good afternoon. It's unfortunate that we time and again find ourselves in this situation where we're talking about Bengaluru reporting such instances. In this case as well, we are picking up its negligence that had led to this unfortunate incident.
Well, we're seeing that a lot of people are losing their lives and limbs because of the negligence of the BESCOM officials. And this the latest episode is coming from the Shimoga district of Karnataka, where a 11-year-old kid lost his limbs because of the negligence of the BESCOM officials. Even though the incident happened on December 3rd, where he was playing in his farm when the high tension wire was very low, which while he was playing, he got in contact with it and it electrocuted him, and he losing his right hand and his left limb there. And now, even though after a month this has happened, the BESCOM officials have not set right the wires there, and the parents are protested, demanding that the compensation should be given and action should be immediately be taken against BESCOM officials who, despite their child losing the limbs and making him amputated for the entire life, the BESCOM officials have not taken this issue seriously, and still the wires are dangling there, waiting for another disaster to happen. We tried to get a response from the minister over this particular issue. The minister has said that they will take appropriate action, but we have to wait and see. It's almost been a month. There's no action has been taken, and the parents are protesting in Shimoga, demanding justice for the child.
Right, Imran, I appreciate you getting us those inputs as far as this episode is concerned. But like you said, no action has been taken, and that is exactly what we'll be continue to discuss here on Mirror at 1 as well. But Imran, thank you very much for joining us on the broadcast. Taking that point across to my guests who joined me this afternoon, Dr. Sudhir Krishna, former Secretary, Ministry of Urban Development, and Sandeep Anirudhan, founder, Citizens Agenda for Bengaluru. Good afternoon to the both of you. Thank you very much for taking the time out and joining us here on Mirror now. Sandeep, let me come to you first. As far as we speak about these instances of, such unfortunate episodes, time and again, it's being seen in Bengaluru. But like what my colleague said, there is no accountability.
True. Nivedana, what ails Bengaluru is that there is zero accountability. You will never find any official losing his job. You'll never see anybody held responsible for anything that goes wrong with the city, which is why there is a blatant violation of all the bylaws, all the laws, all the rules. Illegal constructions continue, illegal layouts are formed, illegal borewells are drilled, cables are lying all over the place. I happen to live very close to Hope Farm, the location where the accident took place. And the week after the accident, all the residents of our area from the Citizens Ward Committee, we went on a survey of that street. We started from the location in Hope Farm and we walked 1 kilometer in 2 different directions, and we spotted all kinds of violations that are hampering the footpath, from dangling cables to missing pavements. There are drain covers missing, and there are multiple levels. There is, it's very difficult to even walk on the footpaths. And all of these, we clocked complaints on BBMP Sahaya. It's almost 2 months now, and most of those have not even been addressed. So even the complaint redressal app that BBMP has, and of course you can complain about everything, BBMP, BWSSB, BESCOM, there is no accountability even in that. There is no official held responsible for addressing a complaint. Complaints get closed without redressal, and then there is no escalation mechanism. If a citizen has filed a complaint and the complaint has not been addressed, he can't even escalate it. He or she has to start afresh and file a new complaint. Again, if that gets closed, it's not escalated. So there's something seriously wrong with the way the administration works. It seems to work in such a way that they don't want accountability for anyone. This is by design. Neither do the officials, the top management, the IAS officials want accountability, nor do the engineers and officials down the line want responsibility or accountability. They all stay above board, above and beyond responsibility, and this is why the city is such a mess. There just doesn't seem to be a system that holds anyone accountable. You're right about that.
Absolutely, Sandeep. And as you point that out, that is exactly why we also continue to say that's unfortunate that we see such repeated instances. But let me also get in Dr. Sudhir there. Dr. Sudhir, of course, as a representative of the citizen voice, what Sandeep said, there are several instances. We've seen many lives being lost. In fact, we'll also show the graphics of how multiple instances like this have just played out in the past couple of months. But why is it that a city like Bengaluru is seeing what it does?
I think it's very unfortunate. The situation is unfortunate what happened, but the solution is very easily possible and doable also. And you see, the urban street design provides for or mandates that there should be utility ducts, utility corridor, utility duct under the ground. Pipeline should be laid where all the utilities, whether it is telecom lines or electricity lines or some other line, water line, etc., the separate ducts for thing, and then this can be taken underground. It will be safe and cost effective also. Only it requires willpower. In fact, it is highly cost effective and financially viable also, because you don't have to dig the road and fill them again. You don't have to maintain the surface of the road for the purpose of servicing of the ducts, wires and cables. And therefore it is provided in the guideline, the urban regional development plan formulation, URDPFI guidelines, the urban street guideline. The Ministry of Urban Development has mooted already. I think the cities like Bangalore particularly, because it is one of the fastest growing cities in the country, economically, socially, and every way. And therefore, they must now give attention to improvement of the utility ducts and footpaths. Footpaths are so very important that we are giving attention to the carriageway where motor cars are plying, but not giving so much attention to other parts where cyclists will go and or where the pedestrians will move. These are all provided in the guidelines very well. And as I said before, that it is very much cost effective, doable, and it can be done in a short time also. What is required is a vision and a determination to do it. I'm sure the Ministry of Urban Development would be advising again all the state governments to take note of these guidelines and improve the walkways. Walkways means last mile connectivity. You have metro lines, all right, but from home to the metro station, it's nearest place. How do you go? You have to either take your own car or scooter or motorcycle, or you have to walk. You can't walk. You cannot take your bicycle, and that is clogging the roads also. So I think this incident, which is in a part of a series of incidents which are happening in Bangalore and many other cities, I think they remind us that we must now plan for integrated mobility solution for the city, where last mile connectivity, safe walking, safe and pleasant walkway. In fact, all the street vendors have to be given. There is a law for street vending, and that mandates that there should be a plan for street vending zones. So it becomes a pleasure, it comfort and economically viable for the vendors, and a pleasure and convenience for the user citizen to enjoy the street vending also. So safe walkway, street vending plans, etc. These are all doable and highly desirable now. So I would strongly urge upon all the municipal corporations, Bangalore included, to give attention to city road planning, including the utility ducts planning, the street vending planning, etc. The city's look will change, quality of life will improve, and economic activities will get a boost. It is highly desirable, and it's high time we give attention to this.
Right, Dr. Sudhir. So, to put it in short, you say that the solution is in sight and it's cost effective. So, the government can't say that it's costing them a lot. And, with the fact that you did put it as every citizen's right to have basic access to good infrastructure as well. Sandeep, coming to you as far as that point is concerned, like what Dr. Sudhir did state, it's cost effective. There is a solution, but there's a lackadaisical approach.
Nivedna, what Dr. Sudhir has said is true. In the central government Ministry of Urban Affairs, they have excellent parameters set for everything. The problem is the state governments never adopt them. Uh, Under IRC 103 2022 guidelines, that is the Indian Road Congress, it clearly says footpath has to have the most important, footpath.
All right, we seem to have run into a technical issue with the audio with Sandeep. We'll try patching that as soon as possible. But Dr. Sudhir, coming back to you as this is concerned, what you of course did mention that the solution is in sight. In the larger scheme of things, what I want to understand from you is because of the fact that there are multiple instances that we're seeing like this, it's sad to see and sorry to say that lives apparently do not matter. It doesn't matter which government is there in this state.
What you say is right, that life must be valued and life can be made a much happier life with streets becoming good. Abroad, if you go, it's such a pleasure to walk everywhere, but here it is a nightmare to walk on the roadsides, because the roadsides are not, footpaths are not well maintained. I think it is high time now that we take a mission, all cities, and Bangalore can show the way, because Bangalore is showing the way in many other ways also, whether it is IT sector or many other ways also. I think it is high time that Bangalore takes up a master plan for improvement of the footpaths and also drainage also. The drain management is equally important. Otherwise, the drains are clogged and the roads get flooded and the footpath, gets messier and you can't walk on the footpath, or even the roads become difficult to use even for the motorcyclist also. So therefore, I think it is good time now.
True.
Guidelines are there. I said that it is highly doable, financially also viable, because the utility ducts, you have to pay rent for using the duct, to lay the cable, and it is very good for the cable owner also, company also, because they don't have to pay money for digging the road and maintenance is easier, etc. So they pay the rent also. So it pays for itself. What is required is a determination. Guidelines are there. And Mr. Amrut mentioned about the IRC guidelines or norms are also there. The URDPFI guideline of Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs is also there. And other guidelines are also. Everything is in place. As I said, it can become a financially viable proposition also. And there is no problem. Only thing is vision and determination is required to do it.
Right, Dr. Sudhir. And, having said that, Sandeep, I understand you're joining us once again. Sandeep, as far as you were making those valid points with how you view it, as opposed to what Dr. Sudhir was also essentially drawing perspective is how the central urban development also does it. What are the key takeaways as citizens would like to address to the government? Because we know a couple of months back, we spoke about brand Bengaluru, or rather the Deputy CM, D.K. Shivkumar's big vision. But we continue to see this, which means that nothing has happened so far. Is that a lackadaisical approach, like I was asking you earlier?
Nivedana, it's actually irresponsibility. See, literally every good legislation that we have, right from the Constitution, you take the 74th Amendment, it has been passed 30 years ago. It clearly states a city should have a planning authority, the Metropolitan Planning Committee. We don't have one for the last 30 years. And if you don't have a Metropolitan Planning Committee, you won't have a master plan. You keep talking about becoming a Singapore. Singapore has a 50-year master plan. We don't have a 1 year's plan. So without planning, you can't have a better city. And secondly, the 74th Amendment has said that the city should have a devolved, decentralized, and unified city government. Now, the problem with Bengaluru is you have 20 different stakeholders running the city, which is why there's no coordination, there's confusion, and there's a total mess. Now, these two aspects are addressed in our constitution. It's nothing less than a violation of our constitution when a state government doesn't implement this. 3 decades. Can't we do that in 3 decades? So it's basically a lack, as doctor said rightly, it's a lack of vision, it's a lack of aspiration. And brand Bengaluru is just a campaign which is superficial. You're just talking about, dressing up. It's window dressing. We have to correct the basics. We have to correct the administration. We have to correct the planning, and we have to adopt good practices. And what the doctor was talking of, underground ducts. See, the city is already charging every
Hmm.
OFC cable provider a fee for digging. And as a result, what happens? 20 different OFC operators, maybe 10 or 15 of them, come and dig different separate ducts. The city is anyway collecting that money. Why don't they collect all these fees and the city itself provide an integrated duct and rent it out to all of them? It takes, in fact, that fee which they're already collecting from OFC operators will pay for much better roads. And all that the city says is, in fact, we have examples. In the CBD area of the city, we have what they call the tender sure spec roads. Those have done it already, like Church Street, St. Mark's Road, MG Road. There they have already reorganized that all the utilities into proper ducts, and they don't ever have to be dug up, and cables don't have to be above ground. Now it's possible, and they say no, it will cost about 25% more. 25% is more is nothing because you're already collecting money from OFC cable operators and stuff to dig their own ducts. That whole exercise of digging up roads and repairing them will be done away with. Anyway, the city has the money. And why is it mismanaging
Hmm.
it? It's clearly lack of intelligence. I mean, it has come down to this. I've come to, like, ordinary average citizens like
A
me
lack
can
of
think of it.
intelligence and a
I don't
lack of
understand
will.
how IAS officials can't. Why
Hmm.
can't our managers do it? The problem with the city is it doesn't go to the proper experts either. They should go to somebody like Dr. Sudhir. Will they talk to him? No. You look at all the people who get empaneled on their advisory boards, they're all brokers. They basically want to bring some outlandish solutions from somewhere in the world with some dubious contractors like the steel bridge and some flyover or elevated corridors, all, and now the latest is the tunnel road. Now these are rubbish, and there is a vested interest empaneled
So you
who
believe
can
there
say
are
what Dr. Sudhir
effective
is saying.
resources, but it's not being used the right way, Sandeep. If essentially, if one were to look at it that way, Dr. Sudhir, why do you think that is? Of course, Sandeep has said it the way a citizen voice would. Do you think there are also loopholes and challenges?
Well, I think the challenge is just lack of attention and care. Otherwise, I don't see any reason. What is lacking is only the will and determination. As I said before, this can be,
Hmm.
municipalities can, it is financially viable. If somebody says that upfront money is required, then you can raise bonds. No, you can raise municipal bond for this particular project and it will pay in 5, 7 years. You will get money much more than that. Anything and everything in city is financially viable. That is very, very well documented by now. More or less everything is can pay for itself. It requires attention. Somehow the footpaths, walkways, and these things are not getting, and the drains, they are not getting attention. We are giving attention to higher level of infrastructure like elevated corridors, metro line, metro rail. That is also required. Not that it is not, but then side by side, integrated mobility planning, integrated city planning requires much more. So it is like you are bothered about more about strengthening your one part of body and ignoring some other part. It is something like that. So I think it is high time
Hmm.
that we all sit together. We all means all cities should sit together. Perhaps the government of India in the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs can take the lead in organizing the brainstorming, in initiating things. Everything has to be done by the city government, municipalities, and the state government. Government of India can at best lay guidelines, which they have done. It can probably give some inducing funds also, which has been done for JNNURM and other programs, Amrut, that if you do some reforms, you get some grants, which is like kind of motivating people to do it, though it is not really required in many cases, but it's all right. It works that way well, all right. It has worked all these years that you give some inducement grant to do some reforms, and that works reasonably well. So government of India can introduce some grants to motivate cities to undertake city footpath and walkways development program and utility duct corridor program. Everything is, it is doable. It just requires attention and prioritization. In high, it has to be given higher priority than what it is now, because car owners, everybody focuses on how the car can reach from one place to other faster, and now of course how metro rail can be. That's all good, but walkway is also very, very much required. We must respect life, we must respect individuals, and with that vision, if we work, And lastly, I will say that probably officers everywhere, whether any officer doesn't mean only government servants, even those who are mayors or see, this is my city. I want to make my city happier place, and rules are there, guidelines are there, money is there. In today's environment, there is no city in the country. When no city means, maybe I can say 95% of cities can say that they don't have money. There's a lot of Central Finance Commission, State Finance Commission, this program, the Amrut program, and all kinds of programs are there. There's enough money everywhere. The vision and determination is required. Somebody must integrate and somebody must put the foot on ground that it is possible. I would say that I'm sure the officers
Right,
who
Dr. Sudhir. I have
concerned.
to interject you there, but like you said, it's just a will. And if that is somebody who has to implement this, is the government. Probably we'll leave it at that. But thank you very much, Sandeep and Dr. Sudhir. I appreciate you taking the time out and joining us here and sharing with us your perspective. We're going to leave it at that for the moment, but actually shifting our focus to breaking news.